Sorry, you're cancelled.
It's no stranger that the internet and the power of words have been dominant for a good few years now. After a good length of time, we've strengthened the way we carry word around and the way we connect with others. If it stretches from news outlets to your friend's Twitter post, the word still gets around. And this impact not only can keep people safe, but it can also create a harmful limbo that will help you stay away from trouble, but it can also totally imprison the person in question. Guilty until proven innocent, one person's word is bond, and you will never get a second chance.
Welcome to cancel culture.
If you aren't familiar, cancel culture is a term that was popularized in the late 2010s, referring to the act of publicly boycotting a group of people or a particular person because of their actions, words, or beliefs. Typically used for public figures, it's a way to raise awareness and spread the word of a public persona's misdeeds. Although seen as an extreme in the late 2010s, it's become a staple on the internet, modern media, and in general social circles overall. While cancel culture can be something that is beneficial, there are also many ways that it has been misinterpreted and used for more harm than good. A good amount of times, instead of cancel culture assisting people in raising awareness, it's been used with malicious intent or with ways of negatively affecting everyone more than it's kept the peace. And the ways that cancel culture can be beneficial for audiences and people alike has been missed consistently. Before I get into what I believe the point of cancel culture should be, I'd like to address the beautiful obstacles in the road that make cancel culture so harmful, ranging from time to miscommunication, change of character, to allegations. The first instance of this culture being potentially harmful is the fact that word travels very fast. If a little bird says so, the entire flock is going to fly south and spread that sentiment to the other nests. Now, let's say somebody makes a claim on someone else. That word travels to someone, and then they pass that information on to the next person. You now have a web. But what if somebody along those lines made a misinterpretation of the initial dialogue? They have a small shift in what was initially said, and now that misinterpretation travels to the next person. It keeps going along, and the story can be stifled multiple times before it reaches the general public. This creates an immense problem of mutual understanding, to where the story, being positive or negative in the first place, is now changed a little, or it could be changed almost entirely. Once that story has been heard, there's no going back. This doesn't even have to be specifically cancel culture. It's just the rule of miscommunication traveling fast, period. When one person says something and then someone else slightly says it worded differently, then someone else posts about it and it blows up, everyone is talking about that possible miscommunication, which leads us to the power of vocabulary. Sometimes a word is so powerful that people don't even want the backing of a story or to what happened. A word can be so strong that people can hear that word which is an accusation in itself, and they won't need to know how, when, who, what, or why. Attaching somebody's name to a word which is an accusation can be so strong that it diminishes anything else around it and have it blow up in their face. Remember the birds flying south metaphor? For example, this person is racist, this person is a groomer, this person is with no backing, no context, no other words. And then everyone will go, holy shit, Lanuari is racist? I knew it!
I knew it. He's done. Chat, did you hear that? No, I don't actually know what happened.
I'm not claiming this for any case, but the power of one word, which is an accusation in itself instead of an entire story, is a weapon. Now, can it save you time? Sure, but I feel like destroying someone's reputation requires a lengthy explanation, but one word can travel so much farther than a story, and if it's false, can truly destroy them. The same case in miscommunication. The power of vocabulary will be so strong that it will convince someone it is the truth, and if false, the sentiment of Lanuari is this word will stick with at least somebody, which is in the same genre of with miscommunication and the power of vocab, it can connect to allegations. Allegations themselves can be provocative. You can claim something about thy neighbor with an inch of proof or not. This is something I primarily find very interesting about this kind of culture. The fact guilty until proven innocent is such a hung sentiment that it's cemented around here. The accused is automatically put on a cross, most of the time, before a word of theirs is even said. And if those allegations are disproven and spoken out against, somebody will believe them still, forever. The stigma will stick with said person until the day they totally disappear. Allegations are thrown around because talk is cheap, and action usually requires a cost. In less internet terms, the most recent example I can think of that isn't a Twitter thread or a video rant is probably these two. Drake was like, you're a domestic abuser and you pay media outlets to cover up the fact that you're not your child's dad. And Kendrick was like, oh shit, but you're a pedophile. And then the record sold millions of copies. And then no one said anything, ever again. Like ever. Like we never got any backing to that afterwards. It was over. No proof. The truth is, with an allegation, it is easily believable if it's presented in a manner that is usually seen as credible. Some kid going he said she said around the street won't be believed. typically. But if you're presented with a 20-page document or an hour-long well-written video where the communication is presented in a clear, constructed manner, you may take that source as much more credible in comparison to its contemporaries. Hell, some people just want to hear them talk, even though that constructed, well-presented video can be made by the exact same kid going he said, she said. You see what I mean? There's this one thing that really angers me, and it's an obvious complaint. It's something that has been popular in this culture for a very long time, and I wish it was a dead art form. Pulling up old tweets, videos, statements, or things people did/said a long time ago and using it against them now. Now, this applies if it's something not very serious. Like, if I murdered someone in Montana in 2016 and it only just now came to light, I hope I get arrested, because justice needs to be served, like, immediately. But if it's not an extreme, I find this to be absolutely unnecessary and truly overall petty. If it's an action, statement, or example of something that was done a long time ago and it does not reflect the current character or platform of this person in question, coming for this kind of thing seems to be entirely with the intent of harm, to attack the person. For example, if somebody says a slur in 2013 at the ripe age of 12 and you come gunning for their career now, that's nothing more than a laughable issue that it hurts. It doesn't apply to come for somebody for something of those sorts if that person has shown obvious growth and maturity. If they said problematic statements 6 years ago and still hold true to those values, then please get rid of them. But if they aren't even a sliver of the same person, or they grew the hell up, maybe it isn't quite fair to throw them in the same ballpark and judge them for that thing now. Once a homophobic Call of Duty player in middle school does not equate to the same person who's now a 23-year-old openly trans furry artist. Listen, we have pipelines, people. We have recipes. Don't come gunning for a head if somebody has obviously fucking changed. People do this for creators and celebrities every day, and the entire reason it's done in the first place is with the intention of tearing them down. You obviously aren't looking for an old shitty political take made 8 years ago when the person has already switched sides, or looking up a person's @ on Twitter with a slur for a good reason. You're purposely trying to gut them and get the person over and done with by looking in the past. As said, if the action isn't extreme or the person has not changed, nor apologized, they deserve to be penalized and called out for said action. But otherwise, this is absolutely ridiculous. It's menacing to infer that people stick the same forever, or literally can't mature past the mental age of 16. Even without it being a young person, the entire point of humanity is to learn and change, and digging for old bullshit with the intent of tearing someone down speaks a lot more volumes on your character versus what I'd say during puberty. Which leads us to... Cancel culture is an art form that should be used to help with safety and spreading a message, not miscommunication, not intent of harm, not ignoring character, chances, or time. If we are going to deplatform somebody and put a dent in their life, they should truly deserve it, as their actions are irredeemable and they should not have an audience. A repeat offender of a crime should be penalized. Somebody who said some bullshit in their nurturing teens should not. The act of publicly calling somebody out and spreading a word can not only harm them in the moment of their career, but also stick with them for the rest of their life. Look them up. It'll have allegation next to their Google search forever. Cancel culture should be used to promote accountability, taking that accountability and making somebody acknowledge what they have done. But holding somebody publicly accountable is harmful with a list of issues, nothing short of 1. The reason why they are being called out could be a personal, private issue that should have stayed behind closed doors in the first place, like a conversation between two friends that did not need to be the public's knowledge. Relationship drama, friend beef, blackmail. If it's no serious crime or something that the entire public needs to know, and the issue is potentially solvable through communicative means, maybe the entire world does not need to know what they were. 2. The action could have been done many years ago and be entirely irrelevant, like a creator or a celebrity who's 25 years old being called out for tweeting a slur, or saying one in a game lobby at the age of 14 to 17, especially if they haven't even muttered it in modern day. 3. Deplatforming someone is an extreme measure. If somebody has shown a change of character after said action and the action wasn't a straight up crime or extreme in itself, deplatforming is unnecessary. Cancel culture can be very malicious. Most of the time it is, which is why I believe cancel culture, in some cases with younger folks, mental issues involved or issues that can be learned from, we should be promoting. Rehabilitation, learning, and spreading the word and giving chances are a part of humanity's initial stature, which is why I believe if the person isn't an outright monster or an actual piece of shit, cancellation should not be an act to promote aggression, punishment, or violence, but instead an act to promote rehabilitation, reformation, and lesson learning. Now, the previous thing applies if the person in question is an actual character, like they fucked up. They get called out for some shit and they don't go, yeah, fuck you all, or run away from the problem. This applies if they admit it. it, accept it, and apologize or take outright accountability. Depending on the scales of how bad the deed is, we can then discuss if deplatforming somebody is necessary. Because a platform could be a lifeline, a job, a career, and someone's way of supporting themselves and possibly others around them, which is why we need a conversation. So with the possible point of redemption, acknowledgement, and a conversation is, the point of humanity is to make mistakes and learn. Trial and tribulation, cause and effect, trial and error. If people are not allowed to make mistakes and cause their own effects in their life, it defeats the point of learning from your mistakes. I believe that cancel culture has manifested a mob mentality meant to tear people down and ruin their lives. If somebody fucks up and it wasn't intentional or meant with malice, people want them to die and fuck off and run away. But that's not what cancel culture is supposed to be. The initial purpose of something like a cancel culture would be a lesson to teach other people what they've done wrong, or to spread word of an actual monster and to keep people safe. When a child stole a cookie from a cookie jar or stays up past their bedtime, typically they lose a privilege. When a public figure steals a cookie from a cookie jar, some chunks of the time, or a lot of the time, they're a public menace. With cancel culture putting together a mob mentality that gets people to round up and attack someone, destroy their career, tell them to die, and make them lose everything they have, but the act wasn't monstrous and the accused is a genuine person, they should maybe, like, I don't know, not lose everything they have? Especially if said character is mentally ill or has some sort of mental issue. It's very important to promote healing and rehabilitation. Resources, learning, and picking up where we left off is, as I've said, a part of the human experience. Bear in mind that every headline and persona that you see with your eyes is still a person beyond those lenses. They're just like you, their own problems, issues, traumas, and families, and whatnot. This is not implying you should forgive somebody if they blew up your home intentionally. I feel like with constant exposure, that fact can be ignored most of the time, but I believe in second chances. If not second chances, the fact that somebody can genuinely be apologetic and remorseful with the chance of change. If a person, not only if they have mental problems, is also younger, they should not be held to the same standard of a 35-year-old business mogul or a 40-year-old pop star who's had media training. And I don't mean in a scenario if a 20-year-old is sending kitty pictures to a kid. I mean younger slurs, mindsets, beliefs, douchebaggery. I feel the necessity to constantly reiterate the scale of the extreme versus the redeemable because I feel like what I'm saying could be misinterpreted. So don't go, Glenn Uwari said people fuck up sometimes, so he's like low-key tight with pedophiles like Diddy. Cause like, be serious. But people fuck up. And having all of that put up into a spotlight and then listed on your new tweet being like, yo, this person is the motherfucking worst, make their album flop, they're over. That's harmful. We're human.
But Lenuari, I had to call them out. They disagreed with me about something in a call the other night, so I just had to use my platform to call them out instead of communicating how I felt.
Oh, amassing a mob to go get rid of everything that somebody has is not what cancel culture should be used for. Instead, we should raise awareness of issues and provide resources to help people. Rehabilitation, healing, learning instead of ending up in hell, not just for the accused, but for the victims and the community itself, to be much more aware of what to handle and what can happen in certain social spaces. Be mature. Don't let your actions be led by greed and the blinded lens of aggression. Bye.
Oh, hello, Josh. I was just wondering if you wanted to spread misinformation, fill our bellies with murder, and play the hating game on the fuck you too.
Thank you to my patrons, Kennedy Carson, Kitty Dog, Mimi Diggs, Yoseri, and all that jazz. I'll see you all next time.
Oh, hello, Josh. I was just wondering if you wanted to spread misinformation and fill our bellies with the... Shut the door. We got it.